What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media. Today, we're doing the post-game show of the Ravens Commanders preseason game. Now, Joshua, it's late, guys. He obviously lives on the East Coast. He's got work in the morning. I got work in the morning too, so I'm not going to be able to be on this for very long, but I do want to recap this game with you guys, talk about my overall opinions. We'll definitely have a podcast episode out probably on Wednesday or Thursday this week. But overall in this game, just a couple of things. Obviously the biggest thing is the streak is over. And, it sucks to lose the streak. But at the same time, it's like there's nothing really that we're being lost. Like, oh, well, you go up against the Commanders and they have their entire first team offense playing for the first half. And we don't even have our backup quarterback. We had our third string and fourth string quarterback playing. But, in terms of the players that we played, first off, I think Zay Flowers looked very good. I'm really happy with what I saw from him. Like, the offense so clearly takes a different, a major drop off as soon as he steps off the field in both preseason games. Like, the explosiveness and everything like that just quickly diminished, and it became, okay, now what are we going to do in order to get some offense? So yeah, that first drive was just absolutely clinical because Zay Flowers out on the field, and it was just, hit Zay. They're playing off, big run and stuff like that. All of a sudden Zay leaves the field, and it's like, okay, now we are going to struggle. And then, obviously looking through the rest of the game, one of the biggest, most disappointing things I think in this game was Keaton Mitchell getting injured. He ended up with one rush, 31 yards. And, for a player that looked as good as he looked, that was very frustrating for him to get injured. We weren't able to really see what he was able to do because, I think Melvin Gordon looked decent. He didn't look amazing. He didn't look like he had the speed that he used to. But, Justice Hill, I think, definitely looked solid. He's still making a case for himself to be that third running back. I really liked what I saw out of Keaton Mitchell, though, but we just didn't get to see very much. Another guy that stood out was obviously Travis Vokalek. And Vokalek, fourth-string tight end. I don't even know if the Ravens are going to keep three tight ends, but he's definitely making a case for himself. However, at the same time, Charlie Kohler also looked pretty good with that big 33-yard reception and a 28-yard reception, basically hitting those seam routes. And, he was getting down the field, and he was doing very well with those. So shout out to Todd Monken for really getting the tight ends down the field, which is something that we can absolutely see out of Mark Andrews. Another big thing that I saw that, I mentioned it after the first preseason game was the goal line back shoulder fade. And I talked about how that's a play that, I would expect Odell Beckham Jr. to be utilized in a lot. Again, we run it towards Tylan Wallace, and Tylan Wallace ends up coming down with it again. And yes, that shows, Tylan Wallace is a beast, but it also shows that the Ravens are wanting to utilize that play in the playbook, and they're trying to get the timing down and get everything down and looking good throughout it. So, I really do like that play. I like the passing in the red zone. Somebody brought up, let's see here. Somebody brought up the running out of bounds. And yeah, I was kind of frustrated when Anthony Brown ran out of bounds with like 4 minutes left. I was like, you got it. I said out loud, I was like, come on, man, you got to slide there. But again, it doesn't really matter. Let's see. Patrick Ricard ended up making that one reception. On defense, we definitely saw a lot of Kyu Blue Kelly tonight. It was, in the first half, I think he was seen the most. But what's funny about him being seen the most, it was, who beat him? And it's like, he was guarding Terry McLaurin or Jahan Dotson. You're like, okay, what are those two players? Well, Terry McLaurin's a top 15 wide receiver in the NFL. Some would argue top 10. I have him just outside the top 10. And then Jahan Dotson, a lot of people think is poised for a breakout year. He had a really good last year apart from his injury. And he looks like he's going to be a very good player in the NFL. So 5th round rookie, ended up struggling against those guys. But at the same time, he was standing in there. He did make a couple of plays on him. And at the end of the game, he absolutely showed out when he was going against players, that are on the back end of the roster spot. And he was able to dominate in the second half. But obviously the first half he struggled. And I'm not trying to, say he didn't, but was able to make sure that he got that big tackle at the goal line, and then eventually, he had some just nice coverages, and then that's really all you were able to ask. They ended up throwing it up to, what was his name? It started with a T. The wide receiver Tinsley. They threw it up to Tinsley on the sideline late in the game, and Caillou had very good coverage, and he was able to make a play, and they weren't able to make that completion to really ice the game. And defensively, overall, the pass rush again lacking. One of the biggest concerns that I have with the defense is one of the problems that the Ravens have had last couple of years is finishing sacks, and you get all these guys and they get overexcited, they over pursue, they're easily dodged, and then the quarterbacks are able to make a lot of plays. And we saw that tonight with Sam Howell. We saw that with Jake Fromm. I think we also saw it from Jacoby Brissett, where it was just missed sacks on heavy blitzes, and it's something that's like, okay, we need to start locking in on these. Some players that I think played well that I haven't talked about, I would say our Darius Washington looked pretty good. Obviously, we hope he's okay. And everyone trying to call out Mike McDonald is like, what do you want him to do? I mean, the Ravens were literally playing third and fourth string players against starting wide receivers and what is seen as one of the best skill position groups in the NFL. Yeah, they're going to play off and they're going to allow yards. It's not the regular season. You do not call your full set of plays. You do not run your full scheme offensively or defensively. It is meant to be basic concepts. You run basic, cover 2, you run, cover 0, you run cover 1. Sometimes you do a little bit of stunting and whatnot, but you are not running your full scheme. You're not running your full defense. Don't try and blame and, look at coaches and things like that too harshly. We were also running with nobody available. Wrong Science says we're going to have to call up our guy Amon Marshall for the help. Hey, honestly, we might be able to use Amon Marshall. We never saw how good he was able to be. And then, Mike, I definitely think Trenton Simpson makes the team. I thought he looked decent. He ended up with, 2 tackles and a sack. They ended up calling the Sam Howell play, I believe, an intentional grounding. But overall, I thought it was a really good play by him to get that pressure to blow up the running back and get to the quarterback and force an incompletion, because those are the types of plays that he might be doing. It's not like Trenton Simpson's going to be out there every play. He will play this year, but I think he looked decent. Obviously, he got beat by the running back where he ended up having the face mask. But again, that's a starting running back against his first game ever at NFL speed. That can happen. A lot of people talking about cornerback depth. If you think about it, right, the Ravens' number 1 corner is Marlon Humphrey. Their number 2 cornerback is probably Rock Ya-Sin. Their number 3 cornerback might be Jalen Armour-Davis or Pepe Williams. Those are probably 3 and 4. Meaning Brandon Stevens is our 5th corner. Seymour is our 6th. Caillou Blue Kelly is our 7th. Trying to think of who else we had out there. Corey Mayfield's our 8th. DeAndre Houston Carson's our 9th. Those were the cornerbacks we were lining up against Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson and De'Ami Brown. Yeah, I'm not surprised that the those guys played very well. I'm not surprised at all. And they were going with no pass rush. There were plays. There was one where Jahan Dotson ended up getting a play on the right side of the field, and it was against Caillou Blue Kelly, and I was like, that's not really even on Caillou Blue Kelly. There was no pass rush. Sam Howell I think it was Sam Howell at that point. He had 8 seconds to throw, and then eventually the wide receiver gets open. That's what's going to happen. If you're not getting pressure, they're going to pick you apart. Any player against any defensive back. Jalen Ramsey, Marlon Humphrey, Jair Alexander, Darius Slay, Sauce Gardner, they are not holding you for 8 seconds. That's just not how it works in the NFL. Who gets the 6 wide receiver spot? I'll say this: it's not James Prochet. James Prochet had another poor performance. He, they threw the ball up to him, in the end zone. He didn't make the catch. What I didn't like about it, was that he didn't really try and high point. He didn't really try and stick his arms out. Instead, what he did was he let the ball come to him. He let the defender come to him. It wasn't a great throw. Obviously, the throw could have been better. I'm not trying to put everything on James Prochet. But in that situation, I feel like you got to get your hands on the ball and at least not pull that in, but try and pull it away from the defender so that if you don't get it, it doesn't drop into their lap because it slid through your arms. And that's what happened on that interception. Was he jumped up, comes to him, slides through, and defender makes a good play and has a very nice return. But I mean, both the backup quarterbacks, I think Anthony Brown looked pretty good. I think Josh Johnson looked pretty good. It's unfortunate that Anthony Brown wasn't able to play with a guy like Zay Flowers because, there was nobody that could gain any separation. And, at that point, it was towards the end of the game. The Ravens it looked like they were trying to end the game and they were running the football a little bit more. And Josh Johnson was Anthony Brown was pretty surprising with his legs, but overall it was like that's how the game plan was. They wanted to slow it down. They wanted to try and end the game and potentially win, and they ended up not doing it. So we didn't get to see much Anthony Brown throwing, but Josh Johnson looked very good. He looked a lot better when Zay Flowers was in the game, but even without that, he was hitting the tight ends on those seam routes, which again, I'm really excited to see those seam routes in action with Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews because Lamar loves those seam routes and so does Mark Andrews. And then let's see. Talon Wallace has done nothing to be a wide receiver 6, and without preseason god Sean Ryan, nobody outperformed him. Talon Wallace plays really well on special teams, and then Talon Wallace has sure hands, and he has back-to-back games, I believe, with a receiving touchdown in a similar role to Odell Beckham Jr. He's not a great wide receiver, but he contributes, and you're able to get what you want out of him. Mike likes Charlie Kohler and Travis Vokolek. Both of them, I think, played very well. And that bodes well, I think, for the 2 tight end sets, right? We were utilizing our tight ends. We were utilizing 2 tight end sets. Ben Mason was in there. Vokolek was in there next to him. They were both playing tight end, and you're using one as a decoy to allow the other one to slip behind the defense. And that's something that I could definitely see out of Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely this year. So, trying to take that and transform it for how the starters are going to play, I think it bodes well. Was Ham the one that forced that fumble? That's awesome. That's awesome. Over Robertson? Who's Robertson? You mean Robinson? Maybe, but Tavius Robinson was seen as not a project, but a guy that was a little bit unrefined. He was what, a 5th round pick? I didn't see any jet sweeps tonight. Yeah, you're typically not running very many jet sweeps in preseason anyway. Just not really worth it. Let's see here. Tay Hayes did end up having that interception. Travis Jones, somebody mentioned Travis Jones earlier. He looked really good. He's getting pressure. He got a hand on the ball. He's jumping up. It reminded me of a Calais Campbell type game where maybe you're not seeing him every play if you're watching the highlights, but if you're watching the game, you're seeing the pressure, you're seeing the push that he's able to get throughout the game. So I did really like that this year or this game from him. I think he definitely took a step up from what the previous game showed. And then let's see here. That first offensive drive was clean. Yeah, when you have one of your starter, That was the only drive of offense or defense where a certified starter played. That was the only one. And he looked really good, and I want to give a shout out to him. But overall, that's just how it works. That's how preseason is. It's not about who has the best starters. It's about who has the best team. And today, the Ravens didn't have the best team. They didn't play their full team, but um, overall, the Commanders ended up, the Ravens were winning at half, right? Or they were close at half, and it ended up being pretty solid. Had to go. What do you think about David Ojabo? I think Ojabo looked fine. I mean, it looks to me like he's really just trying to overpower people with his strength, get a little bit of bull rushing in. And it's like bull rushing is so difficult to do. There's very few players in the NFL that are able to consistently win with a bull rush. It kind of worries me that, that's kind of his go to, is just trying to overpower the guy, and he's not having success with it nearly as much as, you would hope. I'm looking for him to start, mixing pass rush moves together. I am seeing him at least seal the pocket pretty well. He is forcing the quarterbacks to kind of stay in that area. When he is bull rushing, he's kind of guiding the offensive tackle to the position he wants to kind of keep him there. And so I don't know. I wasn't upset about it. Obviously, he didn't wow me, but he didn't play too bad in my opinion. Yeah, he definitely has the moves. It's not like he's missing them. I just feel like he needs to work on timing and work on mixing pass rush moves together in order to be more effective. Wrong siren. I mean, like honestly, I think that comes down to the personnel that we had at wide receiver, right? What do you have a better chance at? Melvin Gordon running the ball on 3rd and 1, or hoping Prochet or Tylan Wallace is able to beat coverage? I think excuse me, when we get to, Odell, Bateman, and Zay, we're going to see a lot of screens in those situations. We're going to see a lot of quick passes. However, and also with Lamar Jackson, you can call a passing play. But when you have Josh Johnson, you're probably not calling a play where you think the quarterback may be able to run. You're just going to call that running play to be safe. I mean, that's really how it works. Mike, are you saying how do you do videos on YouTube? Is it hard to do? I don't think it's too hard to do. I mean, honestly, I've worked my setup up, but I mean, straight up, if you're ever looking to get into making YouTube videos, anybody in the chat, you ever want to get into something like that, DM me on Twitter, send me an email, something like that. I can definitely help you guys out. I used to help people start up podcasts a couple years ago with the Worst Take Network. So just let me know, and I can help you guys out. I can get you on the right start. I can give you some good advice. If you want cheap equipment, if you already have equipment, you're looking for, best ways to upload, tips and stuff like that, hit me up. I'm always here for advice. I want to help you guys out if you ever have any questions. So, Mike, if you want, you can send me an email. You can DM TTB on Twitter. However you want to get in contact with me, let me know. I can help you out. It's not too difficult. Really, you just need an internet connection and some sort of camera. It can be your cell phone. But yeah, no, it's not too hard. It's a ton of fun. Yeah, it was really unfortunate we didn't see Sean Ryan. It was like I was finally looking forward to watch that guy, and he didn't do anything because he wasn't out there. But I mean, again, the biggest thing was Zay Flowers. I mean, Zay Flowers just looked so good because we didn't get to see him really that much in the first game because it was like holding and illegal contact. And so his plays that were good were just like penalties. There weren't really highlights. But this one, it was, catch, make Forbes miss, and then, get the first down, and then catch, make Forbes miss, in the way that he changed the direction, it looked really good. Who do you think will play in the final game? I mean, I think it'll be the exact same players. Like if Pepe Williams is healthy, he'll play, right? If Jalen Armour Davis is healthy, he'll play. But I wouldn't expect to see Lamar. I won't expect to see J.K. or Gus or you know Marlon or I guess Marlon wouldn't play anyway. But we're not going to see any of the main starters. We might see some backups and some young guys like a Jalen Armour Davis, Pepe Williams type. But that's about as much as I would predict. I just don't think that they would play Lamar. And who is the final game? Is it Buccaneers? Let me double check that. Yeah, it's Buccaneers on Saturday. Props. Very soon we get to watch the Ravens play football again, which is nice. Yeah, Flowers definitely looks like the truth. I mean, it's very exciting to watch someone come in and just look that legit. And obviously, we're going to see him in the full regular season, but at least like he might not put up 1,000 yards this season. I'm not expecting him to do that, but he'll make plays, and that's really all we need out of a drafted wide receiver because we've never gotten that before, except for a couple of plays out of Hollywood. And Bateman's made some plays as well, but we're still waiting for him to be have a fully healthy season. And if we could have Zay and Bateman healthy for this season, I think it could be a lot of fun. I think a lot of plays will be made. And that's not even talking about Odell Beckham Jr. yet. But, I'm probably going to wrap up this stream, guys, really quickly. It was fun. I got to work early in the morning. I know many of you also do, but we'll make sure to record very soon. I'll have a full recap out tomorrow. If you guys want to follow Play Action Football, I post content just about every day over there as well. So let me know in the comment section down below if you're watching this in post or in the comment section in the live stream. Just any players that you want me to talk about in tomorrow's recap video, and I will absolutely do that. Thank you all so much for coming through. It's been fun. I will see all of you again tomorrow.